All right, click the links to join the channel, check out the various other links. So let me take a little bit of a different tact on this. This is about a voice actor being offered $4,000 to pay for her gig on a show, part 3. So the part 1, part 2 hit big, and it's like a $500 million project. And so after it hit big, after the money was flowing in, the voice actor was paid $4,000 for a gig. And you look at it and you're like, wait, do you mean $40,000? That would seem to be more fair and equitable. No, $4,000. That's insane, right? And she signed an NDA. It's like, yeah, I'm judgment proof, dude. You really can't do it. You put me in debtor's prison. So it's better to violate the NDA and bring attention to the issue. Now, let me take a different tact for this video game, Bayonetta. Let me take a different tact on this. This is something the left and the right can agree on, where usually they seem to fight over every little thing. I'm always talking about like the puppet masters are manipulating the pawns to fight each other, but stuff like this, it's this corporate performative virtue signaling. But then when it comes down to brass tacks, you see what you get is, oh, so we're gonna $4,000 for a $500 million property. That seems a little bit weird. Maybe both sides can get on board with this. And the left always seems to talk about equity and fairness and equal distribution. It's like, okay, well, why don't we start with the wealthiest of wealthy NGOs instead of marching through someone's residential neighborhood to whatever. Let's start with a $1 billion company to try to pay the voice actors more than $4,000, which, this is part 3. It's not like, oh, hey, I'm filming something in my backyard, and all I can here's $100 to do the voice. And, presumably if it hits big and we do a sequel to it and it makes more money, you'll be paid more, and then we'll keep you on board and we'll just keep paying you more and more as things go along. It's like everyone kind of shares the wealth. That's how things usually work, because somebody was there with you from the beginning. So you reward them if you get rewarded at the end. You make it kind of like a profit sharing thing, and it's not just altruistic, it's pragmatic, because you're going, listen, you're going to get a piece of the back end. So if you help sell the hell out of this, get a social media presence, you're going to get paid off of you selling it and using, like, establishing a social media footprint. It gets everyone involved in it, and like everyone looks at it as it's not just a paycheck. It's like they own a part of the success of whatever you're doing, a video game. And this is a $500 million video game, and she was paid $4,000. That's insane. Absolutely bring attention to this. And, there's a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of money in Hollywood. I know this isn't Hollywood, but it's kind of similar, where it's like this performative virtue signaling, where you got stuff like Robert Downey Jr. getting paid. I think it's got to be the highest paid role, $65 million for that Avenger movie. And people in Hollywood generally do get paid pretty well. But, they're the same ones who are virtue signaling so hard. And so I'd ask them, so, you guys are always talking about other people's money, taxpayer money for all these kind of left-wing programs. The perfect example is something like Hollywood, where if anyone had massive amounts of excess money, you'd say, okay, 3,000 people worked on this movie. So instead of getting paid all these millions of dollars, why didn't you just take like $5 million and distribute the other $60 million throughout the everyone else who's working on the show, from the caterers to the sound guys to everyone else, the people who are doing the construction on it. It's like, just give everyone, like, split all that bonuses up, so you've got like limited, like a cap on the top end salaries. And I'm only saying this because, like, these people are all super left wing people. They're always getting on talk shows, virtue signaling about all this kind of stuff, but they never actually put their money where their mouth is. And you don't need to be paid $50 million for a show when $5 million is probably just fine. Why don't you distribute that money back into the company? Why don't you set up a movie company that does something like that, or a video game company that does something like that? And I'm not saying that that's going to work or not work, but I'm trying to point out the hypocrisy of these people, where they're always talking about other people's money. And the funny thing is, you look at that, like, people on the right donate more money and more time than people on the left. People on the left talk about it, but they don't actually do it. But anyway, but something like this is like, yeah, everyone should get together on this and bring attention to these huge companies, Platinum Games, where if you have to violate some NDAs and bring this to people's attention, to say, okay, voice actors, you got all this training, you're an iconic voice of the character. And it's not just that. If the show is a backyard production, you're getting paid $4,000, that might be very reasonable. But this is not a backyard production. This is a $500 million thing, and that's just for the game itself, and there's probably spinoffs associated with it. if you have to, like, whatever you have to do to bring this to people's attention, this is a good use of kind of using social media pressure to compel behavior instead of people focusing on, like, they're spurging out over what John Wayne said 60 years ago, or what John Cleese said at some 80-year-old guy said something at some award show. Let's focus on that. Let's not, because that's pawn behavior. Let's focus on these billion-dollar NGOs paying their people more than $4,000. Where even Hollywood treats people better. And I think because Hollywood's got more unions associated with it, and video games, I don't know, because they're international, might be a little bit difficult, but in place of having that union structure, you're going to have to use social media to compel behavior, which you can do very effectively, because something like this pisses off, like, I didn't give a shit about video games, but to pay somebody $4,000 when you go, oh, so the thing only made like $10 million, and that kind of, no, it made $500 million. Oh, okay. Well, most people go like, okay, so the CEO made $20 million last year, and the voice actor made $4,000. Why didn't you just pay the voice actors $40,000, and they wouldn't have had to go to social media to complain? You're not going to go to social media and say, yeah, I was only paid $40,000 for a few months' work. It's like, okay, well, that's probably, that's probably decent to even for a voice actor. But it's the hypocrisy and the discrepancy between the CEOs and the other super wealthy fat cats who are being paid, millions in bonuses. And then you look at these voice actors who, what people associate with the game is the voice actor. And if they have to break an NDA to show you these greedy underbelly of these just vile parasites who are running these companies, yeah, absolutely. Like, both left and right, everyone can put aside their differences. Go, okay, well, let's agree on this. We're not going to, like, I said that all the time. And the best thing to do to defeat these filthy globalist parasites is if the left and the right sat down and talked to each other and said, let's look for the similarities, not the differences, and let's see what we can agree on to go forward. Can we, like, something like this? You have a big company, billion-dollar company, multi-million-dollar productions, actors getting paid $4,000. Can we agree on this? Can we work together on this? And I think the right is more willing to get together for stuff like this, where the left is, I think, less willing, because they're more controlled, where the right is less controlled, where we don't have, like, handlers telling us who we can't speak to. Anyway, so she goes on Twitter and to violate her NDA and non-disclosure agreements, gets 100,000 likes on it. And, she says, like, yeah, I don't have anything. You can sue me for the NDA, but they're probably not going to do it because they're already looking bad enough. But, like, what's the judgment? It's called being judgment proof. I mean, she goes, you can take my clothes from me. So she's a classically trained actor, and she's got a great voice, and she brought a lot to the character. It's like, well, you signed a contract. Yeah, but there's a disparity in bargaining terms. But there's unconscionable contracts. I mean, that's one of the reasons. But when there's such a disparity in bargaining positions, go, well, it's legal. Well, if you're on the left or the right, you can look at this kind of crony capitalism or this kind of vulture capitalism and call these kind of people out. And the only tool we have, because we have no representatives, nobody in office, left or right, is representing us. If you're on far left Antifa or the far right Hugo Boss, you have no representation in office. Those 535 parasites are, we're shipping your taxpayer dollars overseas, which is really going back in their pockets. No, they don't represent you. We used to have the media on our side. You used to be able to, like, call the media, get them fired up over things. That was like 30 years ago. Now you realize, oh, wait, the media's on the same side as these other parasites. So what do you have left? You have social media pressure and getting crowds together, like multi-parallel networks forming. But the strongest is going to be if people put down their petty differences and get together to focus on things they can focus on, something like this. Like, this is one simple issue. You can get together and say, oh, yeah, this is horrible. Why aren't they being more public about this kind of stuff? And NDAs, that seems like vulture capitalism, where NDAs to enforce an unconscionable contract. Is it muffin ID, mistake, unconscionability, fraud, statute of frauds, incapacity? Those are all defenses to contract formation. But I mean, it's not technically. It's like, adult making a bargain with a huge billion-dollar company. But you look at it and you go, oh, but is it fair? Oh, it's legal. Yeah. But is it fair when this isn't a court of law here? This is a court of public opinion. Is this a company we want to support? Nintendo and the video game companies. Is this how we want to go forward where these vulture capitalists just use, it's like Upton Sinclair's the jungle, the urban jungle, that book you had to read in college or high school, whatever. That kind of just like, do you want to, left and right, do you want to support these parasites, these vultures, to do this kind of stuff? Like, oh, we're going to sell insulin for $600 because some vermin parasite bought the patent to it. Or, oh, thanks, Biden. Thanks for helping us out with that one, Biden. Oh, no, he didn't. You get the idea. It's like, if we don't have the media to protect us anymore, we don't have our government representatives, it's like, oh, really, it's probably time to start a new government and fertilize that liberty tree. Probably, after legal due process or like whatever. But so the only tool we have on our side right now is social media and the ability to put aside petty squabbles and work together for things that we can work together on. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys next episode.